What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we're back with yet another Forsaken video with a bunch more topics to discuss and round up. We've got several mysteries around the Dreaming City that have actually been solved, so I want to discuss all of those and summarize what they do. A pretty huge secret about Eris Morn has actually been revealed in some new lore tabs, so I want to explain some really interesting details that have been a mystery since she was first revealed as a character. I'm also going to be breaking down exactly what's happening with Savathun, Riven, the Queen, Oryx, and how they all tie into what's happening with the Dreaming City. And as well as that, we've got a bunch more news from Bungie about some future changes, fixes, and features. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, a like rating would help out a ton, and let's get into it. So let's talk about Eris Morn, definitely one of the most mysterious characters in the Destiny universe, and obviously leads to a lot of questions. So a big detail that was only just recently revealed inside new Forsaken lore tabs is that Eris actually survived her failed Crota raid by making a wish with an Ahamkara bone. Now, not only that, but that bone is actually the green rock she always carries around in the energy ball. We always see her carrying this thing around, and in this cutscene she says that it speaks to her, which now makes sense because Ahamkara bones of course do speak and whisper to people, and also explains those voices in Eris' heads, the fingertips on the surface of her mind. There is also a new lore tab detailing a time that Eris Morn and Akora hunted and killed an Ahamkara together and tried to destroy their bones, but it seems that Eris might have kept one. Then after her failed raid attempt in Crota, when she was about to die in the pit without her light, without her ghost, she made a wish with this bone to survive and of course found a way out. So that explains a lot of things about Eris that we've wondered for a very long time. Who are those voices she hears? What is that green rock she's holding? And how exactly did she survive the pit? The answer to all those things is an Ahamkara bone. So let's talk about Savathun's evil master plan and how it ties into Riven, Oryx, the Queen, the Dreaming City, and a bunch of stuff we've seen so far in this DLC. So beginning with Queen Marasov and Riven, how did that whole thing come about? So actually it was Prince Ulgent that went and found Riven in some far off place and brought this baby Riven to the Queen as a gift. Later on, the Queen actually encouraged the idea for all the Ahamkara to be made extinct and basically destroyed because she had Riven. She actually was okay with the idea that every other dragon would be killed so that she was left with the only one. She also didn't tell anyone that she still had an Ahamkara, so that is why Riven is referred to as the Dreaming City's biggest secret, because she kept it to herself basically. So after Oryx killed the Queen, he actually invaded the Dreaming City and found Riven locked up inside there and basically made her taken. We then killed Oryx before he could set her free, so now you got this taken Riven sat in the Dreaming City locked up. Then along came Savathun, and she actually made a deal with Riven that she would be set free if she gave Savathun one last wish, and that wish is for the Dreaming City to be in an endless time loop where Savathun's daughter, Del Inkari, the final boss of the Shattered Throne, could basically invade and destroy the city. Now this means us Guardians are always going to have to go in and kill the Taken to save the city. Now the way these hive gods work is that they constantly need to kill stuff to gain power, and Savathun has built this perfect time loop of a city constantly in war. So she is literally farming us killing stuff over and over again to try and save the city to gain power basically. That's what she's doing. So either we let her win and destroy the city, which of course isn't an option, or we kill them and still give her power. So either way she wins, and that is why Savathun is said to be this mastermind genius. Instead of killing stuff to get power like Oryx would, she's created this infinite time loop of war to do it for her. That also explains what the Queen is saying in this bit of dialogue. She is saying that it's going to happen over and over again, and even though we think we're winning when we kill Dal and Karu, we're losing because that gives Savathun power. I mean, technically we kind of lost this one. We haven't defeated the big bad enemy of this DLC, and Savathun is winning and exploiting us for power. But I think the storytelling of this DLC has been incredible so far. Definitely one of the best, I would say, of Destiny, and of course still a bunch more we haven't seen yet, so there's a bunch more lore tabs and classified things. But as always, comment down below your thoughts and theories and speculation. What do you think of this stuff? So next up, let's talk about a whole bunch of Dreaming City secrets and things that have been discovered recently. An update to the Wall of Wishes inside the raid. 3 more have been found. So wish number 1 has actually been found, and this one is going to give you purely a free ethereal key. This of course lets you get loot rewards from the end Riven encounter. The keys do stack on top of each other. I believe you can get 5 as max, but this is definitely worth doing. Normally you get 1 of these from actually defeating Riven, and then you can go through after the heart encounter and open any of the chests. But of course with 2 of them, you can open 2 chests if you want. It's also worth bearing in mind that these chests give you the biggest light boost of any source in the entire game. So these things, high chance at exotics, high chance at the 1,000 voices of course, high chance at masterworks and god rolls and that kind of stuff. But these are the super chests. They give you like 10 to 15 light levels above your gear, massive upgrades like the Dreaming City Petra bounties. So make sure to get your raid team in this room before, perform the wish, everyone's going to get a key, and then when you get to the final room you can open 2 chests each instead of 1. You can just do double. I believe the limitations are that you can only get 1 per account per week, so you can't just get 1 per character and just keep on doing it over and over again. But yeah, super helpful way of getting more loot during the raid, and is definitely worth doing. Now wish number 9 is super strange, one of those kind of Easter eggs, but this is going to spawn failsafe kind of as your dialogue kind of announcer instead of a ghost, and she's going to be saying stuff randomly throughout the raid encounters. Wish number 14 is pretty interesting, but this one is going to spawn the corrupted Ahamkara eggs in certain parts of the raid. So inside the Kali first encounter at the very top of the ceiling, there's actually a little cave hidden away, and it's going to spawn one egg inside there. There's also this one before the Shiro Chi encounter on top of the rocks. Of course, if you don't know, the way to actually destroy these eggs, as you can see, is with the Wish Ender exotic bow. It's the only weapon in the game that can do it. Of course, I covered this in my latest video. I believe there's 40 or 45 of these corrupted eggs all around the Dreaming City, so it's definitely a big kind of scavenger hunt, and of course it begins only when you get the bow itself. I personally think it's very likely that the reward for getting all these eggs could be the Harbinger's Echo Sparrow. Of course, I've mentioned this a few times recently, but if you think about it, Warmind of course had those data fragments to shoot all around Mars, which rewarded an exotic sparrow with the fast spawn perk guaranteed, the exact same as this thing. It's the same situation. Also, the source for the sparrow is listed as Dreaming City, which makes sense because the eggs are all over the place. It is also worth remembering that you can of course use wish number 4 to skip to the second encounter and then backtrack to get a free raid loot chest. Of course, it's not a cheese or a hack or glitching through walls. You can literally just walk backwards and get the chest easily. You can open this chest on every character, so if you don't plan on raiding, it's definitely worth opening these on every character. Get 3 drops per week. It's not going to be powerful or raise your light level, but of course you do have a good chance of getting a nice god roll if you're lucky. Now wish number 10, 13 and 15 are still classified. Nobody's found them yet, so they are still a mystery. I mean, pretty much from 8 onwards, the wishes become super weird Easter eggs, so I'm looking forward to see what the later ones are going to be, especially 15, and of course I'll let you guys know when they're discovered. So next up, let's talk about some updates from Bungie and things going down recently and of course in the future. Firstly is something a ton of you guys have asked me about, so now I can give you an answer. The Shattered Throne is only going to be during week 3 of the corruption cycle, meaning next week when the cycle reverts to the non-corrupted version of the city, the Shattered Throne is not going to be available. So you have until the 2nd of October to get all your Shattered Throne stuff done. So then for the week of the 2nd, that is going to be the very first cycle, the uncorrupted version. The second week is going to be on the 9th reset, that's going to be the second cycle, and the third cycle is going to be back again on the 16th of October. So hopefully that explains how the system is going to work. On the 2nd is going to be unavailable until the 16th of October. That is when the Shattered Throne is going to come back. It's also worth noting the Shattered Throne does give you 3 very powerful drops per character, so it's 9 in total per week. Definitely worth getting it done as much as you can. Masterwork cores and exotic drop rates. These are the 2 things Bungie has flagged as the biggest kind of community complaints, and these are things they're addressing. They talked a lot about Masterwork cores, but essentially, long story short, they're going to create more reliable and plentiful sources of Masterwork cores. So I'm guessing more missions, quests, bounties, or things you dismantle are going to drop the cores, maybe Xur sells them, something like that. Maybe it'll become useful for once. They're also going to rework the name Masterwork cores to be something else, so it's more fitting of its purpose, because right now it doesn't really fit. As for exotics, again, they said a lot, but the quick summary is they're going to increase the chances for exotics to drop something you don't already have. I think this is a pretty good move. As I've said before, I quite like that exotics are very rare now and don't come around too often, but because of how many exotics are in the game right now, of course, there's a very high chance you get something you already have. So when Bungie implement this update, it's of course going to make them a lot less likely to be duplicates. Of course, it still is going to happen. They did not say they're going to rule it out completely, but I like this idea. I think exotics should be incredibly rare, and when you get them, they should be something new and exciting, not just the same Graviton Lance or Fighting Line again and again. As for what they said on Iron Banner, which honestly I didn't think was too great this time around, they're going to basically make all the bounties a lot easier, and also they all drop powerful rewards now, not just the last 2. Again, I think this is a pretty good move because Iron Banner so far was very unrewarding, the amount of grind and time I had to put into it. And we also have this very fancy graph showing us how the power level advantage actually works. Now, Bungie also noted a bunch of problems and issues they're working on, and definitely things to be aware of so you don't do them and lose out on a bunch of stuff. Firstly is this week's Spider Wanted bounty, the gold one for the Gravetide Summoner. They're investigating an issue where some players in a fire team are not getting credit for killing the boss, so it doesn't complete the bounty, and they're saying the solution is to play solo. That's of course a good way to make sure it doesn't happen, but of course doing it solo is also quite difficult, and some people at low light levels won't be able to do that. So do it at your own risk. It may sometimes not give you credit in a fire team, but let me know how it goes. Also, a small visual glitch that's been a thing since the launch of Forsaken, but Prime Engrams in Crucible go straight to your Postmaster and not to your characters, so sometimes you don't see when you get them. There's also a bug for the brand new Wish Ender bow, so this thing is actually not doing the damage it's supposed to in mostly PvE, but sometimes Crucible as well. The Broadhead perk makes the arrow go through targets, and it's supposed to do damage when it goes in and also on the way out of the target, but sometimes if a thing is moving really fast, it won't do damage on the way out, so that's why it does a lot less damage for fast moving targets. I mean, to be honest, the Wish Ender is really not that good in PvE. It's definitely more of a Crucible thing with the wall hack perk, but it's got no features that help it inside PvE. If you take a bow like Trinity Ghoul, for example, that of course can spread damage through multiple targets by chain lightning, and then you've got a bunch of legendary bows that can roll Rampage and explosive rounds and Archer's Tempo, things that make the weapon a lot better inside PvE. So really the Wish Ender is a lot more of a Crucible bow, but of course bear in mind now it's currently bugged and not doing as much damage to fast moving targets. Funnily enough, a different exotic that's also tied to the Wish Ender in terms of lore is also bugged. These are the Hunter Oathkeeper gauntlets. So these are supposed to make your draw speed of bows faster, but currently they're not doing that properly, so those being investigated. And they also said that Gambit weapons, when you dismantle them, are not giving you materials like they're supposed to, so maybe worth also holding on to those and not getting rid of them until Bungie fix it. But yeah, that is going to do it for today's video. As always, hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, a like rating before you leave will be much appreciated. Make sure you don't miss out on my future videos by subscribing, and of course turning on notifications by hitting the bell next to it to be the first to watch my videos. You can follow my Twitter and Instagram down below in the description. This image is going to take you to another video I recently made, but as always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.